In universities, there are services. SDS is here for a reason. Speak to us. Never go through depression or anxiety or whatever by yourself. We are here for a reason.
Absolutely.
UWC SDS live for another one. Today we have a very special guest. I'll just ask you a question.
Absolutely.
What is Pride Month to you? What
Pride
does it
Month
mean
to
you?
me.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I could actually answer this question in so many ways, but I think I want to say that pride, just looking at that term itself, it's a time to be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
It's a time for celebration.
Yeah.
It's a time where we recognize the work that we as LGBT people have done to be where we are. And there's so much more that we have to do. And I think that recognizing how important it is to be proud of who you are and step into your light and be the person that you truly are is so important. Absolutely. So we just actually recently celebrated World Pride just this week, actually, you know, and I think the way that it's been different this year is just so amazing. And I think it was a time when we could actually just reach out to the people that we love, check in with those people that we haven't seen in so long, actually. Yeah. So what do you think Pride means for you?
Well, Pride to me. So let me just start with the phrase.
Absolutely.
The LGBTQI plus. For the people who don't know, it stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersexual, ally, or
asexual.
Asexual. Yeah. So it's not
plus. We have to also include plus because there's
a very
so many
long
more
spectrum. It keeps going, yes. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not just for us.
Yeah.
Even people who are not gay, they can also be part of the community because there's
queer. I would label.
Yeah.
Right.
And the allies for the
Mm-hmm.
straight people, if I should put it. Like the straight people who support us, they can also be part of the community. And they are the allies. And to me, Pride Month is just a month where we actually are celebrated and we are nourished and cherished as a community. And yeah, it's I'm very proud of where the world is right now, because looking back at the times from years ago, people are actually more accepting of who we are. And even though we still have a long way to go, but there's been a very great change over the years.
And even this concept of pride, actually, I think it is a means for us as people who identify in the LGBT spectrum to actually congregate and feel a sense that you are part of something greater. Because where we come from, we've been isolated. You were likely the only person where you come from, the only person in your family who felt different, the only person in your school, the only person in your community. There wasn't someone like you that you could identify. So now having a group of people who you can come together with and celebrate being different, it's so important. And I don't think that can be denied. And I feel like that is very important, to feel that you are validated, that you are affirmed, that you are loved, that you have people that you can connect to. And I definitely believe that is amazing. And I am so thankful that we have social media to reach out to all sorts of people from all sorts of corners of the world. Because
and here's another question I want to ask you, especially since this has been going on here in South Africa as well. What do you think the government needs to do with regards to this might be a bit sensitive, but I feel like it's something we need to speak on. With regards to the killings and the tortures and the murders that has been people of the community, what do you feel the government needs to do to help lessen and decrease
Justice.
the hate?
Justice, that's what I think needs to happen. Justice needs to happen. Justice, we need our police to take our cases seriously. We need our police to believe us. And I need the community to also rally behind us with this issue, because these are your sons and daughters who are dying here. Let's not just isolate ourselves, and think that we are an outside figure. We are part of the community. We are your sons, we are your children. We are dying. And I think that it is very important that the community rally behind us, that the police take our cases seriously, that more media takes a stand to be behind us with this issue. What can government do? Policies need to change, We need to have people who are on the seats, who are actually behind us, who will take our cases seriously. So I think that there's a lot that can be done, actually. And I do think that they need to also reach out to LGBT groups and actually work with them on these. Because this is not an issue that is going to go until action is actually done. Absolutely. We need to make sure that the people who are doing these unjust things are met with justice, and that they will know that if they are going to do unjust things, that action will come to them. I think that's what needs to happen. Absolutely.
I really like a response. And as a person who's a part of the community, how did your family react? Were they accepting? Did you have to come out to them, or was it just like, okay, we see him, we see you? How was your whole
Oh, guys,
situation?
we're talking about my life story now, eh?
We'd love to know.
Okay, so let me actually, for the audience, I guess, be transparent and say that I identify.
Wait, before, someone said, what can the government and the community do to stop the marginalization?
The marginalization.
Oh, okay. English?
Marginalization.
Of the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay. All right.
Okay, English.
What can the government do? What can the government and the community do? And this is a question from Sinalo Matt. Okay. Whew. Guys, you are coming through with these comments, eh? I would love us also in the comments, let's engage, let's discuss. What do y'all think about this as well? But I think, giving my opinion on that, I'll just piggyback just on what I was saying right before. We need more action in the what do you call them, the protest actions that we actually do. We need the community to also be behind us, because I tell you, the fact that we are dying here, it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. I mean, every day it's almost there's another case of someone else who we've heard that violence has occurred to, and it's horrible, and the marginalization starts from the smallest of things to nasty looks from the public, and those attitudes need to be changed, also the snide remarks that people say, and the things that certain institutions I don't want to attack any institutions. I don't think I have, but rather I will say that there are certain institutions out there that I think that we are aware of who attack us, who attack our identities, who do not affirm us. And I think that it is important for us to counter those things that are said about us, that information that is completely false, misinformation about us. And I think that it is important for us to also take a stand as well against these things. So marginalization is something that we need to actually fight against from grassroots level. And that means we need to have more education on key issues that affect the LGBT community. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Nan. And I feel like we, as the community, we really need to do more, because we shouldn't just rely on the police in the community, the government to fight for us. Because like I have a lot of friends, a lot of people I know are part of the community.
Absolutely.
Who will be like, okay, so they know something happened to someone. Maybe they were abused or murdered or something, and then they will talk about it within themselves, but not post anything about it. So it's okay. We need to stand up. They don't go to rallies. They just speak it within themselves, and then after that, it's like, okay, we move. So I feel like, why should you wait until something happens to you or to your friend for you to actually stand up and fight and be like, okay, I'm gonna start a hashtag, something must happen, I'm gonna go to the police or something. I feel like we as a community, we need to be more vocal and be more active in these issues.
But let's also be aware that, you know, this life out here is hard, you know. Sometimes you just want to live, and it can be traumatic to have to also deal with the other traumas that other people go through. So I do want to also acknowledge that when you are fatigued, trauma fatigued, you do need to take time away from everything and just take care of yourself. So I think it's also important to also be aware of that, that when you see so many of these publications and so many articles and Twitter comments and social media posts about the next person who has been victimized, it is very triggering. It is, and I think it is important to take time away also and just heal yourself. But I do absolutely recognize what you're saying, that, you know, us as LGBT people, we also need to congregate, come together, and actually fight against all these injustices. You know, there is so much more that we can do, even if it is just a repost on a key issue that is going on. So I absolutely agree with you on that. Yeah, there was another comment here actually. Oba Gang Malunga was talking about what and how should the youth celebrate Pride Month on the note of educating the community at large. Okay, what do you think about it? Do you want me to take this, or do you want to take it? Okay, I'll get into it. All right. Well, here's the thing, right? I will put it this way. I think it is important for us to recognize that when we are going out there and we are living our own experience of being LGBT, it is also important to recognize that you are not only just reaching out to the community of people who are non-LGBT, but you are reaching out to the people who are finding it hard to come out, right? You are reaching out to the people who might be actually hearing negative information which makes them close themselves in. So to see people who are living life and thriving and being who they truly are, it is something that someone who is in our community can aspire to. Someone who hasn't found the strength to come out, someone who hasn't found the strength to live their truth, no matter what their circumstances are. So I think when we reach out to the community, let's also be cognizant that we are also reaching out to those people who do identify as being part of the community, who might not be hearing positive messages about how things can be so much better being truly who you are. And so I think that helping people educate themselves is important, but also spreading positive messages to counter all the negative stuff that is being said about our community, because trust and believe there are institutions who are invested in pushing us down, stamping on us. And I think it is very important that we counter those messages and that we reach out to those people that we don't even know who might be part of this community who just need that positive message to keep going. Absolutely. And I think that also education in schools is also important. However, we live in a country which is conservative, a country that is invested in so many things that can affect us and are against us, right? Issues of procreation, how can two people of the same sex, procreate, and all sorts of other silly things that are just crazy. We need to fight against messages that are ridiculous, in my opinion. But yeah, let's look at these comments. Hey, who else? Hey, Obagang, we love you. Hey, we love you with these comments. Okay, how does one educate themselves on the matters of the LGBT community since there isn't much writings on them? Well, I'll actually say there's a lot of writing, there's a lot of research out there on writings, but I think, if we are aware now of the type of the day and age that we live in, people don't read as much, hey? And so how do we change the content that comes from writing and research and make it more, how can I say, more seductive for the youth to actually engage with? And I think that media is definitely one of those things. There's a lot of
videos on YouTube on it.
There's a lot of YouTube videos, Twitter, Instagram,
social media.
Absolutely. And I think that, tapping into communities, like, of course, let me inform you, we've got the Gender Equity Unit here at UWC, and that's a place that you can go to. It's a safe space, actually, that you can go to find people who are just like you. To also learn about different identities of other people, right? Because I can be gay and have never met someone who identifies as trans. And so being in that space, I'm now not only affirming myself, but I'm also learning about other people's identities. And so I think it's very important that we tap into our local community centers which house LGBT people. The Gender Equity Unit is definitely one of those places here at UWC that I absolutely recommend everybody to check out. So yeah.
And then Wendy2_someone is said, and how much awareness can be raised to educate the community? Is just a month really enough?
It's not enough. It's not enough, and I think
that is why it should just
the matter. Let's understand that Pride Month is a month where we are celebrating the works that people are continuously doing every day. I don't think it's just a one-time thing. This is something that we're fighting against every day. I think even the mere fact of being visibly queer is itself a fight every day, because not only are you breaking stereotypes, but you are also being visible in a public space, and also you are resisting hiding yourself. So I think that it's very important to realize that this is not just a month thing, this is something that we're doing work on every single day for us who are visibly queer. But there's also work that is being done by local organizations who are fighting against injustices. And I think that we also need to recognize that.
Thank you very much. I really like that. And now back to the question I asked you.
Absolutely.
About your
my personal story. We just got caught up by these comments, y'all. We got caught up by these comments, we love it. We love your comments. My life story, I'd actually love to know your life story as well, if you don't mind sharing it with the audience as well. But you know what?
There's another question first, wait. It says, could you please elaborate more on the term queer?
Queer.
Yeah. Okay. To me, The term, it just refers to people who are still not sure of where they are. To me, okay, it's for those who are still questioning and still trying to find themselves within the spectrum, because the LGBT plus spectrum is long. So now, for starters, in my experience, at one point in life, there was a point where I was like, okay, I don't like girls, I don't like boys, so I'm just gonna be asexual. So at one point in time, I was on the sexual end of the spectrum, and then at some other point in time, I was on the gay end of the spectrum. So it's so queer is just for those who are still figuring out where they stand on the spectrum, but are sure that they are actually part of the community.
But
so
you know
that's
what
it means to me.
To actually add on what you're saying, right? We can also see queer, the term queer, as being an umbrella term for all sorts of identities under the LGBT spectrum, right? Because being queer denotes that you are different from the norm, in a sense. And I'm not saying that the norm as saying almost that anything outside the norm is perceived as not being normal, but rather I would say that anything that the greater society doesn't perceive as normal. I'm not sure if I'm going right with this, but I'm trying, girl. I'm trying, but I think that being queer, is something that we can all identify as being under the LGBT spectrum. It is an umbrella term, really, and I think that it is such an amorphous term that it's not a solid lump of dough. It's like a lump of dough which
it holds everyone
together. It holds everybody together, but it can be also changed and shaped in different ways. And so being queer is something that we can all identify with. If you are not straight, you can definitely identify yourself as being queer. You can be questioning and label yourself as queer, whilst you're still trying to understand, like you said, who you figure yourself to be. So I definitely believe that.
Interesting.
We have not even talked about my story, but let me actually just
get into it.
Let me get into it by saying this. I come from KwaZulu-Natal, but originally from the Eastern Cape, and the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal are known to be quite very strict, conservative, cultural regions in South Africa. And so I had quite a tricky time living there, and I think that I think that a lot of people who live in those areas might understand how hard it is coming from communities in those provinces. I particularly come from a small town, and it was a small conservative, cultural, Christian based town, and there were certain kinds of beliefs about who you should be, how you should come across. And I also came from an institution which shied away from conversations of the LGBT community and any other kinds of progressive conversations. And so living in such an environment, I had to learn to hide myself and hide who I was. And it did kind of feel like I was the only person in my community who was who I was. And yes, without other LGBT people in my community who were other people who people suspected, I could see how they were treated, and it wasn't nice. And I felt that I can't live in my colors because I'm also going to face that kind of discrimination, and it was something that I hid. I didn't hide it well. I don't think I hid it well, but I hid it, and it is only coming out of the conservative community and moving here in Cape Town, coming from moving to a completely different area, that I was able to create a different identity for myself and start afresh with people who don't know me. And yes, listen, it took me a while to actually find my footing here. I came out in my first year, in the first term, you know.
Really?
Yes, I actually realized that, listen, I'm not going to live this way for the rest of my life. I came to, and I think what really helped, and I have to push this, what really helped was actually going to therapy and actually addressing some childhood traumas and things that I was going through. And I think, you know, what really broke the bridge for me was knowing, well, what broke the dam, let me rather say, what broke the dam for me was actually coming to realize that if I truly was created by a God, right, by a higher being, and I was who I was there truly a mistake in my creation? And I think that for me broke my dam to make me realize that if I was created this way, and this is who I was, who am I then to actually deny that this is how I was molded and created? And so for me, that is what broke my dam, and I started the work to actually being who I actually am.
Ooh, I really like that statement that you said.
Thank you.
That's power right there.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I will say that you take the time to come out to yourself, right? And once that switch has been made and you decide to come out, right, then there is coming out to the people in your life. And coming out to the people in my life was a scary thing. I won't lie. I really won't lie. It was one thing I can definitely call a life of accomplishment for me, because I decided to live my life the way that I truly am.
And that's the most important part.
And coming into that, I'm so thankful that the people in my life were supportive. However, I do know that for some people out there, it's not the same. Situations are not the same. And usually, if I give advice in this thing, I usually say that if you're going to come out, make sure if you don't receive support, that you actually have somewhere to go.
There's always
we will definitely have to link in our discussion here places that youth, LGBT youth can seek out shelters should they actually come out and their families or support systems are not supportive. I think we need to reach out to them. I was luckily thankful that my support systems were accepting of me and have continued to support me, but I also want to also recognize the fact that there are other people out there who are not in the same situation as me. And I think that we need to be aware of that as well.
Guys, there's always someone to talk to. Please don't drown in depression by yourself. There's always someone to talk to. Even if you are not at university, speak to your teachers, speak to your principals. In universities, there are services. SDS is here for a reason. Speak to us. Never go through depression or anxiety or whatever by yourself. We are here for a reason.
Absolutely.
So always bear that in mind.
I just want to reach out to the people out there, people who are questioning themselves, people who don't know how to come out if they want to come out, or what ways to do that. I strongly suggest that you look online for those ways to navigate around that. But I think it's so important that we say in this space that we affirm you, whoever you believe you are affirmed. And I think it is very important to connect yourself with people who will affirm you, people who accept you as you are. And it's so hard because, our support systems, tend to be our parents or our guardians or those who are financially supporting us or emotionally supporting us. And when they don't support us, it can feel like, there isn't hope. But I do want to say that there is a light and there is a hope for you. And that, look, just like how it takes time for us to actually come into ourselves and understanding that, we are who we are. We also need to be mindful and give our support systems time to process the news that we tell them. So I do think it is also important to be understanding that there was a process in when you came out and you accepted who you are. And I strongly suggest that grant the people in your life some patience, because
especially the older generation.
Absolutely, coming from a conservative country which has certain kinds of beliefs and views, this thing of coming out for them feels like a new thing, and yet we know it's not new. It's only that it is becoming more and more visible, and so the visibility of it feels new, and yet we know that it is completely not new. This is something that has been present for generations upon generations, and it's only now being cast more and more of a spotlight. And I think that we need to also be aware that not only when in coming out are we affirming ourselves, but you don't have to explain yourself.
You don't have to explain yourself.
You are who you are, so there is no explaining or justifying who you are, and I think that's also important in the process of coming out. So I think that's what I would love to share. Absolutely. But what's your experience coming out? Could you also tell the audience? I'm sure they would love to know what your coming out
my experience. Now, honestly, just me growing up, I was kind of the odd one out, the different feminine guy, always with girls. And I never really had problems because I knew how to stand up for myself. And but obviously there will be some people who would be like, oh my God, why are you like this? But I literally knew how to stand up for myself and do that. I never really had problems. And in my coming out to my parents, honestly, I didn't come out. It was just like, I am who I am, and they saw me, and it was like,
So for you, you're saying that
he is who he is. Because the thing is that in my family, I have a cousin who's already gay. So I just feel like for me it was so much easier because there's someone who was already exposed.
So they had time to kind of see and be aware of another person who is different. And because of that helped facilitate them being aware that this is something that is.
Guess it wasn't the family. No, I'm joking. But
that's another discussion, nature versus nurture. That's another discussion, maybe for another day, y'all. But I would love to also know, with the people in your life, would you say that it took them time to process, or
the thing
or was it knowing that you also?
I feel like I really don't know, because there was this one time when my mom asked me the question, which this girl, my mom, she was trying me, but she asked me if I'm gay, and at the time I was still like, I said I'm still not sure yet, but as soon as I know.
And it's always that one person who asks and they'll be triggering and maybe you're not ready, And so how did you feel when that question was asked? Was it something that you already knew within yourself?
I wasn't at the point, at that moment in time, I really wasn't sure because I wasn't really exposed to the whole gay experience.
So you might not have been aware.
But then what she said to me, I'm going to say it in Zulu, what to give me. it does pain ukulahla abantwana ayikho. So whatever you are, you're still my son, and I accept you for whatever or whoever you are.
Well, that's
so
definitely
I feel like
beautiful.
she gave me the platform to be myself even before becoming, or she saw it before it. Yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
I'm really
beautiful.
grateful for that.
Acceptance, love.
Yeah.
Unconditional love.
Love.
That's a beautiful thing to have.
Yeah.
And I know that there is definitely someone out there who does love you for who you are. And I think that's important to also share that universal love, that there's definitely someone out there who loves you, and we need you to definitely be aware
and
that there is.
Us within the community, we really need to support each other, and we need to stop bringing each other down, because the world is already against us. So we need to come together and stop the pettiness.
But I think that comes from so many different streams. I do think that hurt people do hurt, and we recognize that there's a lot of people in our community who are hurt, and so with regards to that, I think that let's be more compassionate with each other, more accepting and loving, and hopefully we can all reach out to those who love us and will grow us and nurture and nourish us.
And that's on period. So before we end the live, do you have any last words that you'd like to say to our viewers?
I just want to affirm each of us, and I would just love to say that reach out to your loved ones. All the people in your life who you know are queer, reach out and say, hey, I love you. Let's bring out love. Let's spread the love. I think that for me is the theme for the month. Let's spread the love. Let's affirm each other, and let's also recognize that in this time that we're going through right now, we are not alone. We are not alone. So let's reach out. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And guys, thank you very much for watching our live. We are highly appreciated, and we hope that we made your day, you learned a thing or two.
Absolutely.
And be yourself.
Absolutely.
100%.
100. All right. Everybody take care. Love and light. Blessed.
Bye.